Hey there, guys. Back once again. Hopefully, I'm not wearing out my welcome too much. We're going to talk a little bit here about video game addiction. And what I want to talk about here is a little bit more specific than we have in the past, right? There is a bit of a discussion that goes on in the internet around video game addiction and what causes it. I feel, though, like for those of us who play games like Football Manager, even some of the Paradox games, or in my case, some of the simulation games, I play a lot of baseball simulations like OOTP, or stuff that has like no graphical interface, Diamond Mine Baseball, or even older games that are card and dice and stuff. For those of us who fit into this category, there's actually not a lot of help or even understanding out there, right? And here, I'll show you what I'm talking about, right? The question here that we have is what makes these games, a game like Football Manager, addicting? Now, let's go ahead and see what we've come up with. So, I have this up here to 150%, so it's nice and big and in your face, which is what we like. I'm going to look here quickly at two threads that I found on Stop Gaming. There are other threads like this on Stop Gaming, a subreddit that I've visited from time to time. You can see here, everyone here knows that most video game companies and popular games use certain mechanics to keep players playing their game. Examples: kill, damage, notifications. Well, we don't have that in Football Manager, right? There's no notification that I killed or damaged another team. In fact, even if we make it to first place in a really exciting league one season, like there's no special notification that pops up. There's no voice that says like first place. That would be pretty cool if there was, right? Hit markers, you don't have anything close to that. Grinding or currency systems, there's a little bit of grinding that goes on. And I mean, there is an in-game currency system, right? Which actually I think is quite ingenious. Football Manager's handling of currency is really, really good, and it's very simple. It's a lot better than in OOTP. We can talk about that a little bit later. As far as grinding is concerned, yeah, I mean, there is a little bit of grinding. You see it here. We play one match after another. But again, it's a little bit different than the grinding that you see in other games. I feel like it's not quite the same type of like ultra grinding system that you have. And there's not really that, emphasis on, okay, I'm going to sit here and play 40 games in one day or something like that. Not quite the same thing. Leveling system, I mean, yeah, there is a leveling system in Football Manager, right? But it's hidden, right? You have to go into your homepage, your profile to finally see it. And even then, it's not necessarily that clear. And it's not that clear how much impact it actually has on the game. Loot boxes, no loot boxes. And progression systems, I don't know what that even refers to. Is that not a leveling system, right? So that's the thing. I mean, when they're talking about these games like this, you're talking about like Counter-Strike or about League of Legends or, games like that where you have a lot of action going on at once. And there's this like in-game leveling system and stuff with all sorts of graphics and rewards and sounds and things like that. That's not Football Manager. So I read something like this. Yeah, I think loot boxes should be illegal, blah, blah, blah. Once I looked deeper into how games were designed, I was able to distance from them easier and so on and so forth. I looked at this after I was playing Football Manager 8 to 10 hours a day, and I said, I kind of get this, but does this really apply to me, right? Next thing we'll look at over here is another one I found. Video games are made to make you an addict. Blah, 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 about ways that this is. Here we go. Most of the games require you to spend a long time to either complete them or to increase your rank. Completing the game is the most basic task in the game. And then we talk about MOBA games, right? Some games, these games follow similar patterns as casinos or lotteries. Instead of buying a ticket, you gamble your own time. I mean, there's a little bit of that's in Football Manager, right? But as it says here, competition and skins alone do not keep players hooked. One has to be emotionally attached to the game, which they theorize is done through colors, effects, sounds, and movements in the game. Now, if that is true, if it's really the colors and the sounds and things that get people really hooked on these games, then sort of what I've been through with Football Manager makes absolutely no sense. Because, I mean, I don't think that the criticisms about the graphics in Football Manager are, necessarily 100% warranted. Some of the things that I read where it says, these are graphics from like 2006, actually, that's probably true. I mean, the graphics are not the best in the world, right? But I think that some of the criticism that's leveled against Football Manager for its graphical and sound issues is a little bit too heavy-handed, right? I will admit, it probably is around 2006, 2007 level of graphics right now. You have to realize that I'm kind of an old guy. When I think of video games, I think of playing the NES back in like 1990, right? So I would consider Football Manager from that point of view to still have pretty good graphics. But the truth about it, right, is that there's nothing about Football Manager's graphical engine that makes you go like, I have to keep playing this game, right? There's no like special thing that pops up. Have you ever won the league? I have. And guess what? The thing at the end where you win the league is the same no matter what league it is, right? The game itself, in other words, is not responsible for creating this desire that you have to achieve a certain accomplishment in game. In fact, Football Manager, as it currently stands, is particularly bad at doing that because it's just the same screen over and over again, and it's kind of boring. Once you've seen it once, you've seen it 1,000 times, and when it keeps coming up, you're like, I kind of want to skip this. This is the same thing that we had before. That is not the thing that keeps you going, right? What keeps you going and what keeps you into the game is that relationship that you develop between yourself and between the players that you manage, or between yourself and between the team that you manage, right? There's none of these tricks around. There's no special sound. There's no like special movement. Nobody does like a little dance. I guess you got the guy doing the cartwheel once you win the league, right? But I mean, we're not grinding our way through a brutal season to see a cartwheel, right? I mean, there's some other thing that's going on here that gets us hooked. One of these threads links to this website, Dark Pattern Games, darkpattern.games, helping you find healthy mobile games. I mean, I know it's designed for mobile games, but, you know, these things like, these are signs that you have a game that's designed to be addicting, right? Playing by appointment, daily rewards, grinding, advertisements in game. I mean, whatever. That's not going to get you addicted. Monetary patterns, right? Paying to skip, premium currency, paying to win, artificial scarcity. None of that exists in Football Manager. I mean, it does not exist, right? I guess some artificial scarcity, right? If you get the new gen that happens to like actually be a good, competent, I don't know, like right back or whatever, you know, and is a wonder kid right away and stuff. I mean, that's pretty scarce. It's pretty rare, but that's not going to get you hooked to the game. Usually the thing in my experience that gets you hooked are the players who are not quite good enough, who you think could be a little bit better, right? Social dark patterns really don't apply to this game. I mean, because the two-player mode is so awful, you know. I know that there's stuff like the Streamer Showdown and all of that, which I think is actually extremely well done and definitely worth watching. But like the truth is that that's not the thing that gets people hooked, right? This is a one-player game we're talking about. There's not some social obligation to play. Even if you create a YouTube channel, there's really no social obligation to play. You're doing it mostly for fun and mostly maybe to try to attract other people to come over and see what you're doing, right? Psychological dark patterns, maybe invested/endowed value, badges. Or, you know, you have, I mean, the coaching badges, I guess. Neither really here or there. There's no collection to complete. I suppose there's a little bit of an illusion of control. Maybe we can look here into invested value, right? So that your copy of your game becomes more valuable the more that you play it. That might be something that's going on. But I mean, I don't know. I mean, for me, it's not really there. I think, honestly, that when it comes to like what it is that makes Football Manager actually habit-forming and actually addicting, I think a lot of it really comes from us. You know, I had a guy, I went on Twitter just the other day. I'm recording this like a week or so in advance. I went onto Twitter the other day and I posted a little thing about addiction to Football Manager in one of my earlier videos. It got like no impressions, right? Twitter's so hit and miss, right? I learned that if you put the link to something in the tweet itself, Twitter algorithm doesn't like you, so you have to put the link in the comments. Whatever, you know, we'll figure this out. But like the thing behind this is, so there was a guy, you know, I tweet a lot more about baseball, and there was a guy in there who looked at this and said, "Oh, this is interesting," and then later he realized, "Oh, this is soccer. How weird." Funny thing about this for me is that that's actually the way that I used to feel. I mean, when I was a kid growing up, I wasn't watching any sort of like professional soccer league or anything like that, any actual European football. I wasn't watching that at all. No way. I grew up in the suburbs of Salt Lake City, right? I mean, we didn't have anything like that going on back in those days. The thing is that when you get into Football Manager, you don't have to have that kind of background. I understand for some people that, you know, the game can be addicting if, you know, you have your favorite team and you want to see them progress and win and do well, right? You're a fan of Celtic and you want to see them actually do something in the Champions League, something like that, you know, or even better, you're a fan of Leyton Orient and you want to pull them up to the Premier League and see if they can't win and see how many years it takes you and stuff. Yeah, that sort of thing I understand. But there's also a whole bunch of us who only know about the sport through Football Manager, believe it or not. And this is the way that we were introduced to it, right? And, you know, we discovered, hey, there's something interesting here and there's something fun about this and there's something fun about, you know, the soapbox or the sandbox and all this other stuff. Soapbox is what I'm on. The sandbox is what we play in. So that's really, this is sort of, I guess, an introductory video to talk about how Football Manager is different than other addicting games, right? There's something different about this game that makes it really addicting. And it's not the things that you're seeing in all of those other games. So if you suffer from this, if you're struggling with controlling the time that you spend playing Football Manager, guess what? A lot of those websites and a lot of the things that they write about probably aren't going to help you that much, right? You need to figure out a way to understand what is really happening here and why this game is so habit forming, and then find a way to bring it under control. I've said it before, I've tried myself to just quit cold turkey and not do it anymore. And what happens is you're okay for a couple of weeks, and then you're like, I kind of did like that, and I'm a little interested in it. And, you end up thinking, I wonder if there isn't a way that I can play the game, enjoy it, and yet not play it for like 10 hours straight, right? There must be some way I can do this in a way that's more manageable. That's sort of what my journey is right now. And I really do feel that there is a way to do this, right? Because, again, those like really predatory things are not present in this game, right? Usually if you're playing it for so long, maybe there's something about you that's causing this to happen, not something about the game itself. Anyway, a little bit of food for thought. We'll talk about this again a little bit later, but I'd love to know what your thoughts are on this. Is Football Manager unique in its addictive qualities? Is it different than other addicting games? Let me know what you think below. Bye-bye.